The case against Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto at the International Criminal Court, where they faced charges for crimes against humanity related to the post-election violence following the 2007 general elections, left a trail of graves of witnesses who are privy to how the two were at the heart of orchestrating this violence. So when George Thuo, the former Juja Member of Parliament and a witness scheduled to testify for Uhuru Kenyatta at the ICC, passed away from poisoning while having a beer at Club Porkies in Thika, one cannot help but wonder, could his connection to the ICC as a witness have been the motive for his death? Welcome to Silent Shadows. As always, if you appreciate our true crime storytelling, support our work by liking and subscribing. Together we uncover compelling tales of crimes and mysteries in Kenya and beyond, presenting well-balanced narratives that respect the victims and their loved ones. Born on 14 February 1967, George Thuo was very talented academically, which saw him join Strathmore College in 1989 for his accountancy certification. After getting his accountancy certification, he started his career in the transportation sector. He first worked for the Stagecoach International Company, where he was stationed in Malawi before joining the Kenya Bus Services, KBS, in October of 1998 as the managing director. As the MD of the Kenya Bus Services, Thuo is said to have mismanaged the company by running it into debt, which led to him being ousted from the collapsing company by the board in 2003. With vast experience in Kenya's transport sector, Thuo started his own company, City Hopper Limited, which operates public transport buses in Nairobi. Despite starting a thriving company, Thuo would go back to being an employee in June of 2003 when he joined Trendsetters Tires Limited as a managing director. Thuo left this position in December of 2006, ahead of the 2007 general elections, in which he vied for the Juja constituency Member of Parliament seat with a PNU ticket. He would go on to win the seat despite fierce competition from William Kabogo, who was running with the NARC Kenya ticket. Sadly, the 2007 general elections marked a very dark chapter in Kenyan history, as Mwai Kibaki's presidential victory and swearing in were heavily disputed, leading to widespread post-election violence. This violence, orchestrated by the political class, saw the likes of former President Uhuru Kenyatta and current President William Ruto accused of being at the forefront of financing and planning the violence, which resulted in over 1,200 Kenyans losing their lives and 350,000 others displaced from their homes. To restore order in the country following the post-election violence, a power-sharing agreement was signed between Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga in February of 2008, leading to the formation of the Grand Coalition government. George Thuo was subsequently elected in parliament as the chief whip of Mwai Kibaki's PNU party. Shortly thereafter, the chickens would come home to roost for Thuo when William Kabogo moved to court to challenge Thuo's election as a Juja Member of Parliament. George Thuo would then lose his MP seat 2 years after his election when Judge Luka Kemaru nullified his election on Friday, 16 April 2010. In his judgment, the judge cited numerous electoral malpractices that hampered free and fair elections. These malpractices included tampering with ballot boxes and discrepancies in vote counts, including the fact that votes from 4 polling stations were not entered into the final votes tally. Following the ruling, residents of Juja went back to the ballot boxes once more, and Thuo lost to William Kabogo in the by-elections which were held on Monday, 20th September 2010. After losing his Member of Parliament seat, Thuo focused on building his business empire full-time, but he remained close to the Mount Kenya region's political circles. Thuo's political choices would come back to haunt him again when the International Criminal Court came calling. Now you see, after the 2007 post-election violence, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, his successor William Ruto, former head of public service Francis Mudhaura, journalist Joshua Sang, former police commissioner Hussein Ali, and former cabinet minister and Tinderet MP Henry Kosgei were put on trial at the International Criminal Court in The Hague for crimes against humanity due to their roles in foiling the violence. For Thuo, he was expected to be a key witness for his close friend, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Thuo was expected to testify for his friend that the violence in Nakuru and Naivasha was spontaneous and Uhuru had no involvement whatsoever. But the ICC Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda had evidence showing that actually Thuo assisted Uhuru Kenyatta in executing attacks in the said towns by attending meetings, mobilizing the Mungiki sect, and planning their logistics. Specifically, according to ICC documents available in the public domain, on Sunday, 27th January 2008, Thuo attended a meeting at the Blue Post Hotel in Thika, owned by the Kenyatta family, where he was joined by 30 members of the Mungiki sect, and in the meeting they discussed the plans for the revenge attacks in Naivasha and Nakuru. In another document, the ICC prosecutor alleged that Thuo was a liaison between the Mungiki sect and Uhuru Kenyatta, channeling Uhuru Kenyatta's payments to them and organizing transport using his city hopper buses to take the attackers to and from Nakuru and Naivasha. The ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda also had evidence showing that Thuo urged the Mungiki sect members to fight for the PNU political party, promising them three things: that their leader, Maina Njenga, would be released from prison, that they would be compensated handsomely for the attacks, and that the government would stop killing their members. Beyond his sordid political career, Thuo was known as a jovial man who enjoyed life to the fullest, and was also a devoted family man to his wife Judy and 3 kids. But as you know, relationships are never smooth sailing. Sometimes arguments arise, and this was the case in Thuo's home on Wednesday, 13th November 2013. This was because when Thuo landed at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from India, he expected his wife to be there to receive him, but she wasn't. And when he got home, she wasn't there either. It happened that she was out of town and she was held by the traffic police at Naivasha for overspeeding and only got home at 6:30 p.m., an hour after Thuo had gotten home. When Thuo's wife Judy arrived at their home in Thika, the couple had a very heated argument. The couple later reconciled and even attended the wedding of Thuo's younger brother Nganga 2 days later, on Saturday, 16th November 2013. Those in attendance at the wedding noted specifically Thuo was happy and in good health. After the wedding celebrations were over, Thuo and his family went back to their family home in Thika, but they were not alone. They were with Thuo's other brother Ngoge and his wife, who stayed the night at the guest house. The following day, Sunday, 17th November 2013, things were normal at Thuo's house. He had breakfast with his brother that morning, and later that afternoon, Thuo drove the family to one of their friends' restaurants in Kitengela. They arrived at the restaurant around 1:30 p.m., ordered some meat, and enjoyed their lunch while discussing the wedding that was. They were later joined by the newlywed couple, Nganga and his wife. And after enjoying a lovely Sunday afternoon together as a family, they all headed to Athi River, driving in 2 cars. Thuo, his brother Ngoge, and Ngoge's wife were in 1 car, while the newlyweds were in the 2nd car. The group headed to Athi River to see the house that the newlywed couple had recently bought. After viewing the house, Thuo, Judy, Ngoge, and his wife returned to Thuo's home in Thika. On their drive back home, Thuo, who was a huge Formula 1 fan, called the owner of Club Porkies in Thika, one Paul Wainaina Boyle, also known as Shiki, at around 6:30 p.m. to book a table at the club. When they got home, Thuo changed his clothes and headed to Porkies. As Thuo was getting ready to leave home for Club Porkies, the F1 watching party at the club was just starting. Thuo's friends had started trickling into the club, and the first to arrive at around 7 p.m. was Samuel Kuria, also known as Vizi, who was the hype man at the club, and Andrew Karanja, who worked as the manager of the club. The two, Vizi and Karanja, settled down and were served drinks by a waitress by the name Esther Ndinda Mulinge. Vizi and Karanja were later joined by Christopher Lumbazio Andika, who was popularly known as Lumba, who was one of Thuo's campaign managers when he was running for the Juja Member of Parliament seat. Thuo would be next to arrive at the club at around 8 p.m. and he joined the three men, Vizi, Karanja and Lumba at the table where they were seated, and he asked the waitress Esther to bring him 2 Tusker light beers. Esther brought the 2 beers to Thuo from the counter and she opened the drinks in Thuo's presence. As Thuo enjoyed his beers and he chatted away with Vizi, Karanja and Lumba, the owner of the club, Sheki, whom Thuo had called for a table reservation, joined them. Around 8:30 p.m., Thuo called his wife Judy to update her on how the race was going. About 30 minutes later, now around 9 p.m., one Vanessa Watahi, also known as Atlanta, who was a frequent patron at Porkies, walked into the establishment. According to her account of events, she was coming from a function in Zimmerman, and when she arrived in Thika, she was in urgent need of change for a 1,000 Kenyan shilling note. Since most shops were closed, she decided to go into Club Porkies to ask for change, as she needed smaller bills to avoid any issues with the conductor while she boarded a matatu home. When Watahi entered Porkies, she saw Thuo seated with Vizi, Karanja, Lumba and Sheki. She then walked to the counter, bought 1 beer for Thuo using the 1,000 Kenyan shilling note. The drink was opened at the counter by the server named Phyllis Wanjiku, and Watahi carried it to Thuo's table, where she hugged him, told him how much she had missed him, handed him the beer, and left shortly afterward. About 15 minutes after Watahi left, Thuo complained to the 4 men he was seated with that he was feeling overly hot. Thuo, who had on a light shirt with a vest underneath, then told them he would remove the vest to combat the heat. Sheki then directed Thuo to his office, where he removed his vest. While there, Thuo called his wife again to tell her how hot he was feeling and mentioned that he was removing his vest to cool down. After removing his vest, he took it to his car, went back to Porkies, and 10 minutes later, Thuo collapsed at the table. Lumba then called Thuo's wife to inform her that Thuo had collapsed while having a drink. Alarmed, Judy instructed him to take Thuo to Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi. However, Lumba noted that Thuo was unresponsive and needed immediate medical attention, so they decided to rush him to Thika nursing home, which was just a 4-minute drive from Porkies. Thuo was taken to Thika nursing home, where the doctors attempted to resuscitate him for over 1 hour but were unable to do so. As the doctors were trying to resuscitate him, Judy, his brother Ngoge, and their family doctor arrived at the hospital. After the resuscitation efforts failed, they called an ambulance and he was rushed to Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi, where unfortunately he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Though a sudden death shocked his family since he was in generally good shape, with the only medical issue he had being high blood pressure, which he was under medication for. To the family, something did not feel right about his death, and they involved the police to help them answer the questions surrounding Thuo's sudden death. This led the detectives to visit Club Porkies the following day, Monday, 18th November 2013, to try to piece together the puzzle. However, they could not recover much evidence since the club had already been cleaned and it did not have any CCTV cameras. Despite these initial blockers in establishing the cause of Thuo's death, the autopsy conducted that night by Dr. Peter Ndegwa and Dr. Andrew Gashie at Lee Funeral Home would change everything. The autopsy report established that Thuo had passed away from stomach and intestinal bleeding as a result of poisoning. To determine the poison used, they took biosamples from Thuo, and these samples were sent to the Lancet lab in South Africa for testing. Additionally, the vest that Thuo was wearing that night was sent to the government chemist lab in Nairobi for testing. As Thuo's loved ones waited for the test results, they laid him to rest on Friday, 22nd November 2013 in Thika. The burial was attended by prominent politicians, including former President Uhuru Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta. Thuo was eulogized as a loving and caring husband and father, a tactful politician, and a shrewd businessman. The test results for the poison that took Thuo's life came out in the last week of December of 2013. According to the toxicology report, traces of poison were found in Thuo's liver, kidneys, and heart. Additionally, the vest Thuo was wearing on the night he collapsed at Porkies tested positive for traces of the same poison. This poison was identified as a pesticide known as karate. In hindsight, the choice of this poison indicated premeditation, as it has a faint chemical or slightly sweet odor, which is generally not strong or noticeable. Also, its color, which is pale yellow, would have blended easily with the beer which Thuo was drinking, making it difficult to detect. Furthermore, it is very fast-acting, often becoming lethal in a matter of minutes. The detectives were now certain that Thuo had been killed at Club Porkies, and almost 6 weeks after his sudden death, they arrested 6 individuals on Friday, that January 2014, who had closely interacted with him during his time at the club. The individuals arrested including those who sat at the same table as Thuo, that is, Vizi, Karanja, Lumba, and Sheki, as well as the waiter who served him his 2 beers, Esther, and Watahi, the woman who bought him a beer. The murder trial of the 6 individuals took a very long time in court, 10 years to be precise. The main highlights from the legal proceedings include the following. Firstly, although the toxicology report confirmed that Thuo had been poisoned, the police did not recover any forensic evidence from Club Porkies that could have contained traces of the poison. This was partly because when Thuo collapsed, the bottles and the glasses on the table fell to the floor and broke, and by the time the police arrived at the club the following day, everything had been cleaned, and the broken glasses and bottles had been discarded. Furthermore, the police did not find any of the accused persons in possession of the karate pesticide used to poison Thuo. Secondly, Cliff Mbeta, the lawyer representing the 6 accused, argued for the possibility that Thuo had consumed the poison elsewhere before arriving at Porkies. However, he failed to produce any evidence to support this claim. Additionally, considering how fast-acting the poison is, it would have been impossible for Thuo to have consumed it elsewhere and experienced a lethal reaction just over 2.5 hours later. Thirdly, as the trial was ongoing, Club Porkies in Thika made headlines once again when on Sunday, 27th July 2020, another popular and affluent businessman from Thika, Bidan Njoroge, who owned a transport business, was at the club enjoying drinks with his friends. He also complained of feeling very hot, and when he stepped outside to call a taxi to take him to the hospital, he collapsed outside the club. Other patrons rushed him to Thika Level 5 Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. The police investigated his death but found no connection to George Thuo's death, as Njoroge had a very serious heart condition for which he was taking medication. It is important to highlight that Porkies at the time wasn't famous for being a joint where the patrons, especially men, would have their drinks packed. So there is a likelihood Bidan's drink was packed and had a lethal outcome due to his pre-existing heart condition. Now, returning to George Thuo's case, the defense also attempted to portray Thuo as being in a volatile marriage, citing the nasty fight he had with his wife just days before his death. Perhaps the defense aimed to shift the murder suspicion towards his wife. However, Thuo's wife Judy dismissed this allegation, stating that they had experienced a typical lover's squabble, had reconciled soon thereafter, and were on very good terms at the time of his death. This was confirmed by Thuo's brothers, Goge and Nganga, who confirmed that the couple was indeed in a positive place in their relationship when Thuo passed away. Another key highlight during the legal proceedings was a testimony from Paul Wainaina Boyle, also known as Sheki, the owner of Club Porkies. He stated in court that in the days leading up to Thuo's death, Thuo appeared to be a worried man. Sheki claimed that Thuo expressed concerns about the ICC case, telling him that He didn't know what was going to happen after the case was over. The case against the six finally came to an end on Friday, 19th April 2024, and the High Court found the accused guilty of the murder of George Thuo at Club Porkies, Thika, on Sunday, 19th November 2013. In her ruling, the judge stated that the circumstantial evidence presented in court linked the accused to Thuo's murder. She highlighted that Thuo had called Sheki and Lumba to inform them he was coming to the club, giving them ample time to plan for his demise. The judge also pointed out that Sheki's employees, specifically the entertainment staff, Andrew Karanja, who was the DJ, and Samuel Kuria, aka Vizi, who was the hype man, chose to sit at the same table as Thuo to ensure nothing went wrong with their plans to eliminate him. The judge also emphasized that the four, that is Lumba, Sheki, Karanja and Vizi, did not leave the table, which gave them the opportunity to tamper with Thuo's drink. The judge further noted that the waiter who served Thuo's beer may also have had the opportunity to tamper with it. And as for Watahi, the judge zeroed in on the fact that she purchased a beer for Thuo, had it opened, and personally brought it to Thuo's table, hugging him in the process. The judge questioned Watahi's motives, wondering if this was a hug of Judas. According to the judge, evidence showed that Watahi was a frequent customer at the club and could have easily obtained change without buying Thuo a drink, making her motive for buying and opening the beer before taking it to him questionable. On Tuesday, 25th June 2024, 10 years after George Thuo died at Club Porkies in Thika, the six were sentenced to 15 years in prison. It is quite unfortunate that Club Porkies did not have CCTV cameras that could have shed light on the events of the day Thuo was poisoned at the establishment. However, one thing is evident: the prosecution failed to establish a motive for the murder, which makes us believe there's a bigger fish, a puppet master who was responsible for Thuo's death, potentially collaborating with someone or several individuals at Porkies that night to orchestrate Thuo's murder. So what could have been the motive in George Thuo's death? The ICC cases are the top of the list of motives. Before the cases against Uhuru and Ruto were dropped in 2014 and 2016 respectively, more than 13 people who are directly linked to the cases as witnesses who had insider information as to how the two were involved in the planning and the execution of the 2007 post-election violence were brutally killed. And George Thuo, dying at a time when he was scheduled to be a witness, does not seem to be a coincidence. We extend our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of George Thuo. May his soul continue to rest in eternal peace. Thank you for joining us today. If you appreciated this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified when the next video is up. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and always trust your gut.